question now is if more will move over, or once Marathon settles, it will swing back towards an attempt to revive Destiny 2. But the idea that around 400 people can sustain Destiny 2, a game that used to have almost the entirety of Bungie's 1,000 plus employees working on it at some capacity, feels like a reach. And it sure seems like we have even less than 40% of the content we used to get at Destiny's peak. The future of both games is not yet clear. Destiny 2 was supposed to press forward with the new, smaller expansion mid-season update model, but that is obviously running into significant issues, even just in year one. Marathon will continue balance patching and working on future seasons with new maps, runners, and all important microtransactions. But with a rapid departure of players, it may need to make significant changes to draw less hardcore players in. So they have actually made some changes to Marathon since this was written on April 20th. As of this recording, it's April 30th. You'll hear this on May 1st. 9 days. They put in some kind of casual game modes that are actually pretty fun, but we'll talk about that in a minute. All of this feels like it's on a knife's edge, and we'll see what comes over the next few months. So, I mean, Marathon is obviously the game that Bungie is pushing, right? It's their new game. Destiny, one way or another, it has seen significantly less players, right? It's not a secret. I'm not saying the game is in bad shape, in terms of the game itself, but the lack of player base, the growing kind of word of mouth popularity of Marathon. I would actually say the simplicity of Marathon from a design standpoint. It's not an RPG. You're not really grinding to the exotics to keep, right? Like it's you're not. It's a class-based shooter, right? It's not an RPG, right? So there's some significant design changes there in terms of Marathon compared to Destiny. Destiny also has a much bigger, I don't want to say production value because that sounds like Marathon doesn't have production value, but like, cutscenes and story moments and a ton of voice acting and characters that you need to keep up with. And Marathon doesn't really have that, right? It's the kind of almost static character kind of animations when you complete a contract and you get those cutscenes with the voices, right? Or like they're almost like terminal screens that are very aesthetically comparable to the game itself, right? Like they're very digitized. It's if you play Marathon, you know what I'm talking about. I'm also running on like 3 hours of sleep last night, so cool. So I apologize for any kind of my eyes are like I've taped them open because they're so tired, everybody. Marathon is just a different style of game that, seemingly, obviously it's a game that they've worked really hard on, right? But I think Destiny is, when you look at them side by side, I think it's clear that Destiny is a much, in terms of scale, right? In terms of what that game is a much bigger undertaking than Marathon is on paper, right? And when you used to have 1,000 plus people working on this game, and now you have about 40%, of the studio now, which is less than, it's probably like about 30% of the studio that was working on the game around the time the final shape was being developed, right? So like it's hard, man. This is hard. This is I don't envy Bungie for trying to keep up both games. Like I don't envy that task whatsoever. It's got to be hard. It's got to be really difficult to do that